entertaining way. Over the first week of July, LeBron listens to pitches from pretenders trying to capitalize on his love of TV. Pat Riley, meanwhile, dumped his collection of championship rings on the table. Then this happened.
Dwayne and Chris, Dwayne, we'll start with you. Where are you going to be playing next season?
Well, back in Miami, man. I'm back in, for now, I'm back in Wade County.
Back in Miami with the Heat. Chris, you want to jump in and tell us where you're going to be as well?
Yeah, I'm joining Mr. Wayne in Miami.
Days later, LeBron was asked and answered the most important basketball question ever asked of him. You still a nail biter?
I have a little bit, not really.
No, wait, that's not the right clip.
LeBron, what's your decision?
In this fall, man, it's very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
That answer, that decision, reverberated around the sports world.
I hope he never wins anything in Miami. He is dead to me.
I'm a big LeBron fan, and this is the worst thing that could have ever happened to me.
It's easy to forget now, as we remember the money LeBron's televised decision raised for the Boys and Girls Club, and reflect on how that moment empowered future generations of athletes to take control of their own careers. But James and his new teammates were absolutely lambasted for that moment. It probably didn't help that the Heat held a championship-like rally to celebrate its new Big Three before they had even played a game. It should be noted, though, that all three stars took less than the full max to accommodate not just each other, but veterans like Jones, Udonis Haslem, and Mike Miller. The Big Three's first season together began with some bumps in the road, and some bumps on the bench. The Heat started that 2010-11 season a pedestrian 9-8, which led to James famously asking Riley if he ever gets the itch to coach again. Wink, wink. But Riley would hear none of it. LeBron and Eric Spoelstra would learn to appreciate each other's dedication to their crafts. The Big Three began to gel, and Miami followed up that 9-8 start with 21 wins in their next 22 games, which included an emotional victory in LeBron's toxic return to Cleveland. The Heat finished that season 58-24 before storming through the East playoffs with a 12-3 record.
Playoff shoots for the Heat. Oh, James behind the back. And it finds Floyd. What a move by LeBron James.
Even the top-seeded 62-win Bulls, led by MVP Derrick Rose, were no match for Miami. The good times continued to roll right into the finals, as Miami won Game 1 against an overmatched Mavs team and had a 15-point lead in Game 2 with just 6.5 minutes left. But it was all downhill from there, as Dirk had a 22-5 Mavs run with the Game 2 winner in the closing seconds.
Nowitzki flies with a deflecting layup, backs it in with 3.6 remaining. Miami out of timeouts, trailing by 2. James back to Wade. Wade puts it up for the win. Off the mark, and Dallas has tied the finals with one of the most incredible comebacks in NBA Finals history.
The Heat reclaimed the series lead in Game 3, but it would prove to be the team's final victory of the season. Miami blew another lead in Game 4, while Game 5 will always be remembered as the night Wade and James mocked the fact Dirk was battling an illness during the series.
Oh, is that what we call? What you gonna say?
Only to get shown up by the legendary big man on the court. The series as a whole is the one true statement of LeBron's legacy, as one of the two greatest players ever couldn't solve Dallas' zone defense, or J.J. Barea in the post. When the Heat eventually wilted facing elimination in Game 6, and critics took their victory laps, LeBron said this.
All the people that was rooting on me to fail. At the end of the day, they got to wake up tomorrow and have the same life that they had before they woke up today. They got the same personal problems that they had today.
Suffice to say, no one would be rooting for Heat redemption the following year. But that low point versus Dallas forced the Heat to confront reality. And it was during year 2 together that Wade relinquished full control to James, who took home his third MVP award. What followed was a 46-20 record in a lockout-shortened season, but a more challenging postseason than the previous year, as an abdominal injury sidelined Bosch for most of the second-round series versus Indiana and the East Finals versus Boston. It was during that matchup with the Celtics, with the Heat down 3-2, facing elimination in Boston and the Vulture Circle, that LeBron officially made the Heat his team. You know the game. You know the performance. It's the one that can be told with just one image. This look.
Go, James! Let's fly in and throws it down.
45 points on 73% shooting, 15 rebounds, and 5 assists from James later. The Heat had forced the Game 7 back in Miami, which they won to clinch their second straight conference title.
James fires a three. Bang! Hot shot, calls the foul. That's good. And one. James and the Heat's dream to a championship still very much alive.
Rather than a veteran team awaiting them in the finals this time, James Wade, Bosch and company drew the loaded young Thunder, led by Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Serge Ibaka. This time it was the Heat dropping the series opener before storming back, as after a Game 1 win, the youthful Thunder didn't know what hit them.
Drives a three. Bang! LeBron James from downtown.
Miami won 3 straight close games before blowing the doors off the Thunder in the Game 5 clincher.
2011 and such a bitter ending, making this celebration all that much sweeter.
The Heat were champions. LeBron had finally reached the summit, adding a championship and a Finals MVP award to his collection. And Bosch memorably did this.
The MVP is handed to him by Bill Russell and Phil George first, and Scott Miller.
It was a far cry from a year earlier, when the big man slumped to the floor in tears after a Finals loss. If year 2 was the season that the Big Three Heat got over the hump, year 3 was the season they tapped into the full potential of their greatness. In what would cause a rift with his former Celtics teammates that still exists to this day, Ray Allen joined the Heat in 2012 free agency, giving these star-studded defending champions another shooter, with the size, length, and athleticism to wreak havoc on the defensive end, and a ton of shooting around some of the best shot creators to ever play the game. Spoelstra's Heat truly leaned into their pace and space identity during that third season. The Heat actually played some of the slowest ball in the league at the time. Their pace component was more about taking advantage of transition opportunities than it was about playing fast. Who could forget that one of the most defining images of the Big Three Heat came on one of those transition opportunities a couple years earlier? Simply put, the 2012-13 Heat played some of the best basketball we'll ever see, posting a record of 66 and 16, which was fueled by the second longest winning streak in NBA history. Bosch came into his own as an elite two-way small ball center. Wade was an all-NBA player for the final time, and James was at his absolute apex. A fully formed basketball machine with no weaknesses left to exploit.
Wade from behind takes it away. Curry. Oh,
James took home his second straight MVP award in the 2012-2013 season, averaging 26.8 points, 8 rebounds, 7.3 assists, and 1.7 steals, while shooting 60% from two-point range and 40% from deep, and playing perhaps the best defense of his career. It seemed preposterous that any team could beat the Heat, which is why it was so stunning to see Indiana push Miami to 7 games in the East Finals, and for the Spurs to have the Heat on the ropes. Figured